Russian President Vladimir Putin is now officially meeting with the President of the United States as we speak. You can see Putin here walking with President Trump on that red carpet at the U.S. Joint Military Base in Alaska. But you may be wondering, how is it possible that a man accused of literal war crimes by the International Criminal Court with active ICC warrants for his arrest can feel safe enough to step 1 foot into our country? Well, let's talk about it. First, let's start with the facts. In March of 2023, the International Criminal Court issued a war crimes arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin because of his alleged crime of ripping children from their homes in Ukraine without their parents' permission and taking them to Russia.
The International Criminal Court has issued 2 warrants of arrest in the Ukraine situation. For Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, and for Maria Lvova-Belova, it is forbidden by international law for occupying powers to transfer civilians from the territory they live in to other territories. The judges have reviewed the information and evidence submitted by the prosecutor and determined that there are credible allegations against these persons for the alleged crimes.
Because Putin has this war crimes arrest warrant from the powerful International Criminal Court hanging over his head, that means if he steps foot in another country, he risks being arrested, taken to The Hague to be tried, probably convicted of these crimes, and maybe even imprisoned. Obviously, his own people in Russia won't and honestly can't arrest him. But if he shows up in a European country or in certain Latin American countries or in African countries, they will roll him up and get him to The Hague to answer for these alleged war crimes. That's why we have not seen Putin leave Russia very often in the last few years. He is a pariah on the world stage, especially in wealthy, modern countries. Except Putin felt safe enough to show up in North Korea last year, and now he feels safe enough to show up in the United States. But how could that be? Isn't the United States the wealthiest, most modern country in the entire world? Absolutely yes. However, generally, the United States also does not recognize the authority or jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. The ICC was set up in 2002 to prosecute war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. The ICC is a court of last resort. They say they take on cases when international authorities are unwilling or unable to prosecute war criminals. The International Criminal Court does not have its own police force, so it relies on the cooperation from supporting countries to execute those arrest warrants on their behalf. More than 100 countries were part of the formation of the court. The United States participated in the original negotiations, but most importantly, we are not a member. Our politics dictate our national posture towards the ICC. To put it bluntly, when it's politically beneficial, the United States supports the ICC, and when it's not, we don't. For the record, Russia is also not a member of the ICC. So then what power does the ICC actually have? Well, since its founding, the ICC has only conducted a few dozen trials and has only found a handful of those suspects guilty of war crimes. The punishments can be prison sentences or reparations or both. But the ICC can only put a suspect on trial at The Hague if that person is arrested and physically there. Under the ICC rules, suspects cannot be tried in their absence. So because the United States is not a signatory to the treaty that established the ICC, nor do we recognize its authority or jurisdiction, Putin feels absolutely safe coming to the United States to meet with the leader of the free world without fear of being arrested. And President Trump clearly believes the possibility of ending the war in Ukraine outweighs the optics of having an accused war criminal like Putin on U.S. soil in Alaska.